Today is Monday, September 18th, 2023, and this is the Dunkley Report. China has flown 103 military planes toward Taiwan in a new daily high for the activity the island considers harassment. Taiwan's defense ministry says it also detected Chinese vessels in the 24 hours from Sunday to early Monday. China's military regularly sends planes over waters south and west of Taiwan, in what some see as a campaign of intimidation for the self-governing island that is claimed by China. The recent actions may be an attempt to sway Taiwan's presidential election in January. The governing Democratic Progressive Party leans toward formal independence for the island. North Korean leader Kim Jong is on his way home from Russia at the end of a 6-day trip that raised concerns about weapons transfer deals between two countries locked in standoffs with the West. On his first foreign trip in more than 4 years, Kim met President Vladimir Putin and visited key military and technology sites in Russia's Far East. He was in a lighter mode Sunday, touring a university and watching a walrus show at a Russian aquarium. Russian state media reported Kim began his return journey following a farewell ceremony at a train station attended by Russia's Natural Resources Minister and the regional governor. 2 cargo ships have arrived in one of Ukraine's ports this weekend, using a temporary Black Sea corridor established by the government. They're the first since Russia's withdrawal from a wartime agreement designed to ensure safe grain exports from the invaded country's ports. According to an online statement by the Ukrainian Seaports Authority, 2 Palo-flagged bulk carriers docked Saturday at the seaport of Chornomorsk in the southern Odessa region. Ukraine's deputy prime minister said in an online statement Saturday that the 2 ships will be delivering some 20,000 tons of wheat to countries in Africa and Asia. The war in Ukraine and its visiting president take center stage at the United Nations this week. But developing countries will be vying for the spotlight, as well as they push for faster action on poverty and inequality at the first full-on meeting of world leaders since the COVID-19 pandemic disrupted travel. The annual meeting at the UN General Assembly takes place at a polarizing and divisive juncture in history. Many diplomats say it's the most dangerous since the Cold War. For developing countries, the top priority is the UN's 2-day summit aimed at creating action by world leaders to achieve 17 wide-ranging and badly lagging global goals by 2030. Libya health minister says 4 Greek rescue workers dispatched to Libya following devastating flooding in the eastern city of Derna were killed in a road collision. Some 11,300 people died when 2 dams collapsed during Mediterranean storm Daniel last week, sending a wall of water gushing through the city, according to the Red Crescent Aid Group. A further 10,000 people are missing and presumed dead. On Sunday, a bus carrying 19 Greek rescue workers collided with a vehicle carrying 5 Libyan nationals on the road between the cities of Benghazi and Derna. 3 Libyans in the oncoming vehicle were also killed. French President Emmanuel Macron is extending an olive branch to video gamers after previously linking computer games to rioting that rocked France earlier this year. Posting on the social media platform X, previously known as Twitter, Macron backpedaled on remarks in June where he blamed video games for having intoxicated some young rioters. Those comments dismayed some in the gaming community, even beyond France. Japanese game director Kazuhiro Harada was among Macron's critics at the time, but the French leader's latest comments struck an entirely different tone. In an unusually lengthy post this weekend on X, Macron issued a mea culpa to gamers and showered video games and the industry with praise. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen pledged the swift return of irregular migrants and a crackdown on smugglers Sunday during a visit with Italy's premier to a tiny fishing island overwhelmed with nearly 7,000 migrant arrivals in a single day this week. She told a news conference after touring the island's hotspot, "We will decide who comes to the European Union, and not the smugglers." Italy's Giorgia Meloni framed von der Leyen's visit as a gesture of responsibility of Europe toward itself, and not just a sign of solidarity with Italy. She said that the numbers will overwhelm not only the border countries, but all of the others, if they don't work together. A UN committee has voted to list prehistoric ruins near the ancient West Bank city of Jericho as a World Heritage Site in Palestine. The decision Sunday angered Israel, which controls the territory and does not recognize a Palestinian state. Jericho is one of the oldest continually inhabited cities on earth, and is in a part of the Israeli-occupied West Bank that is administered by the internationally recognized Palestinian Authority. The listing refers to the Tel Es Sultan archaeological site nearby, which contains prehistoric ruins dating back to the 9th millennium BC and is outside the ancient city itself. The decision was made by the UN World Heritage Committee meeting in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Lawyers for an opposition party councillor in Zimbabwe say he and a relative were abducted, beaten and whipped by unknown men amid a post-election crackdown on criticism of recently re-elected President Emerson Mnangagwa and his ruling ZANU-PF party. More than a dozen opposition figures, including elected representatives, officials, and activists, have been targeted with violence or arrested by police. Many had hoped for a post-election rapprochement that is badly needed in the once prosperous southern African country. But main opposition leader Nelson Chamisa says his party is facing backlash from Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF following the disputed and troubled general election in August. Dozens of demonstrators against a divisive plan to redevelop a beloved Tokyo park are forming a human chain outside the Japanese Education Ministry to demand a revision. The protest Sunday was a show of opposition against the plan demonstrators said would threaten thousands of trees. Sunday's protest came just after Tokyo's Gaien area was designated for redevelopment, and then was placed on a heritage alert on September 7th by a United Nations-affiliated conservancy. The International Council on Monuments and Sites, or ICOMOS, has drawn mounting support, including from such cultural figures as novelist Haruki Murakami and dozens of academics, writers, and architects. Today's news was reported by the Associated Press. This has been the World News for Monday, September 18th, 2023. Thanks again for joining us at the Dunkley Report.